Welcome to the Monday, November 25th, 2024 business meeting of the Richmond Community School Board of Trustees. Thank you for your patience this evening too, as we are starting late, so we apologize for that. We had a work session before this. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could have the reading of the mission statement.
Richmond Community Schools guide students on pathways of learning to a future of limitless possibilities.
And the reading of the vision statement.
Richmond Community Schools, a collaborative community nurturing mind, body, and spirit to prepare students for lives of choice, purpose, and service.
Thank you. Our first item on our agenda is celebrations. Dr. Wright.
President Trustees, I'm going to ask that Mrs. Bridget Hazelbaker, our Director of Student Support and Communications, will approach the podium with tonight's honorees.
We have a full house.
No doubt.
Wonderful. All right, so we are going to be celebrating the runners of RCS. So we have many champions here tonight. So first off, we're going to have the Boston Run champions. So we have fourth grade girls Boston Run champion Morgan Lee from Hibbert. Come on up. And then we also have the fourth grade boys Boston Run champion Ryan Ilaraga. Then the third grade girls Boston Run champion Alexis Judy. And finally, the third grade boys Boston Run champion Truman Earth. On October 9th, we had a very successful Boston Run at Crestdale. Can you guys turn this way and look at the board members? Just and then, but we also did, it wasn't just these four. There were lots and lots of kids. But I also like to have Mr. Higgins come up, Mr. Villafuerte, and Mr. Jeffries. So snacks were provided by the Jones Family Foundation. So I also want to thank them back there in the back. Tell us a little bit about, so this was the fourth graders, this was your second time in the bus trip. How did you do last year?
First.
You got first place and third. How did you do, Brian, last year?
First.
You got first last year too. All right, so middle school fifth, get ready. And now, do you guys enjoy running? Do you do any other sports? No, nothing. You're doing soccer, or what are you doing?
I play basketball, baseball, and football.
All right, nice. Now, Ryan, do you do any other sports either?
I play soccer.
Soccer, and what about you, Ryan?
Same, I do soccer.
Soccer. Yeah, her mom and I played soccer together. All right, so can you guys give any? How was it the practice and doing all that, getting ready for Boston Run? At your schools, right? It was good. Yeah, you guys like to run, so
yeah,
that's great. Now, Mr. Higgins, can you tell us a little history about Boston Run a little bit?
Well, I know we might have to rely on Mr. Jones. What was the
Jones,
official?
Well, the first race was held in 1977, and this trophy actually disappeared in the Great Sandstorm of 11. And the last time it was printed in my grade, so we got to get it updated for the last couple of years. We've been trying to look through, but this is the original. Goes all the way back to 1979 is the first one, but it's been moved from. Oh gosh, Boston Run was at Fairgrounds. Was that Earlham? Was that the original Boston area? Went by the airport area somewhere thereabouts. Glenn Miller. It's at Crestdale, so it's been all over. But just lucky I found this. It was in behind a big picture at Charles. Took the picture down. There was 3 trophies. This was one of them, and this was so yeah. We found it, and we got to get it updated for Charles for since 2011. So that's awesome. So, so I'll let you hold on to that. But that's kind of history of.
All right, so now, did you guys winners as far as, did you guys also get trophies as well?
Yeah.
So what did you do with your third grade trophy and your fourth grade trophy? I mean, are you hoping to get more trophies then as you grow older?
Maybe.
All right, do you have any other questions? Anyone else? All right.
I would like to say
Yes, go ahead.
I've always appreciated the commitment from Richmond Community Schools, Boston Run. Always appreciated the commitment from the principals and the teachers, and especially the parents. It's a great running event that we have for the kids every fall. And so I've been part of it for 21 years, year one,
First year.
year three. And so hopefully we can just continue to build on a great tradition.
So who here in this room has done the Boston Run as a child? As a student? All right.
Hi, this is Hazel Baker, if you don't mind. I'm curious to know from the students, because we understand and know how important it is to eat healthy and make sure, especially with running, that you're doing just that to train to be at your best. With our champions here, do you all eat healthy on a daily basis? Eat your peas and your vegetables and your carrots and yeah. And you, no, no. What about Skittles, M&Ms, Snickers? Yeah. Congratulations.
You guys-
Tremendous job. Other questions? Yeah. No.
I just,
Oh, yeah.
and to the last two coaches, what got you inspired to become a part of it? 1 year and 3 years.
Oh, well, when you become a PE teacher in the elementary, it's kind of automatic. So I taught here for 6 years and fourth grade, but then I switched to PE this year. So
Yeah, former runner. Go ahead.
me?
Yes, sir.
I am not a former runner. I'm a hooper, so I mean, these guys can probably beat me in
That-
any day of the week. So.
You have to run to hoop.
Oh, I know. I remember all the suicides and all those joints. At Ball State too, man. That stuff was tough.
Well, thank you all.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right, we got a smile. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, there we go.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, so our second level of runners, champions here at Richmond Community Schools, middle school state competition. So, but I would also like, I'd like all the middle school runners to come up. They can, please. Xavier, Jenny, Wall, good.
Charlie, go up there.
All right, good. So we have some, these are our middle school runners. So, and then Coach Hitcher, will you also come up? Thank you. Okay. So we have Walt Brazel, Kenny Lee, Henry Christian, Colton Carpenter. Colton had a game tonight, so he's not able to make it tonight. Xander Herrick, is here, right? Landon Hill, Truth Macklin also was not able to make it tonight, and then Ronan Cross. And we also have some more girl runners as well, so very big champions. So if you guys come this way just for a second. So who all did Boston Run? Everyone. All right. Did anybody win Boston Run? All right, you came second place. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. So tell me a little bit. What was it like going to state? I see you guys were wearing your shirts. What was it? What was that experience like?
It was a really huge competition.
Exciting.
It's just way more people.
Oh, really? And how many schools competed? I mean,
68.
68 schools. Wow. And did Richmond go to state last year?
We only had 4 runners qualified.
Wow. So is this the largest group that we've had?
The team by far was almost 50 kilos.
Wow. Wow.
All right. And so can you guys go down the line and tell me what schools you guys go to? What school do you go to? Yes. Test.
I go to Hayward.
Okay.
Ever.
But you have other students from Dennis and Test as well, correct? Yes. And then you guys are still practicing now, even on the off season. Is that right? So are you guys doing, anybody else doing any other additional sports? Winter sports? Basketball?
I'm gonna do
Indoor soccer?
Tennis.
Tennis.
as well.
All right. And now I want to see you guys, I saw some of you guys that also at the Boston Run, you guys volunteered to help cheer on the 3rd and 4th graders. along the route. So were you guys glad that you weren't the ones running? Or you wish you were the ones running? Oh my gosh. Any other questions? Yeah, oh yeah, you guys were running back and forth from the front to the back. And I think that's what parents do too during those meetings. During those, you guys run from one spot to the next. All right, well,
Richard, can we have the young ladies introduce themselves?
Yes, please.
Give their names.
Yeah.
Dana, Bella.
All right. And you guys both go to Hibbert as well. All right, so any chance that we'll have any girls go to state next year? That would be great. That would be fun. All right, anything else?
Mr. Herrick, can you share the importance of eating your peas and carrots? You don't want to share?
So tall.
I'm teasing. I'm totally teasing. Very important. Thank you. Great.
All right, so let's go grab a photo real fast.
Yes, we got another photo.
Yes. Thank you.
No.
And lastly, I'm going to ask Mr. Lambright to come up for it. So it was his idea to get all of these runners together. So I think this was a fantastic idea from Mr. Lambright, who's of course a teacher at Richmond High School and the coach. So Mr. Lambright, will you pull up some of your students, your student athletes that are up here? I know we don't have all of them here tonight.
No, we invited the all conference athletes, Keena Barker, Katie Peacock, Lauren Newton, Xavier Ogle, and Kale. Finishing the all conference, as an all conference athlete, you have to be in the top 8. Keena Barker was also your individual girls champion by second place, was behind her by 40 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. So these are your all conference high school runners.
So tell us a little bit. So I know you guys also helped out with Boston Run, and that was fun. Now, did you guys participate in Boston Run?
Yeah.
Did everybody get first place? You did?
Yeah.
Ah, Morgan. All right. So tell me a little bit about who's a senior? 3 seniors here. All right. So are you guys going to further running into next phase of your life, or what do you think? What about you, Kim?
Yeah. Exciting announcement coming on Wednesday, hopefully.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't think I can say more, can I? Okay, Wednesday. It'll be on social media.
All right. Well, look forward to that then. Wednesday shall have some exciting news. Katie, are you thinking about doing anything past?
Not really, personally, but not like content or anything.
And so have you been, and what grade are you in this year? Freshman, nice. And so did you do junior high cross country as well? And then how many have you guys been doing varsity this whole time then? All of you, always. Man. All right, you guys have anything else you'd like to add?
I was going to add, I just want to thank the board for giving us this time tonight to show. I think it's nice that we're showing commitment to all levels of the sport. For a community such as ours, running has the lowest barrier to entry. You can just go out, put on a pair of decent shoes, and figure out if you're kind of good at it or not. And while it does get more expensive, the better you get at it. At that point, you know whether your investment is worth it. Any of these kids can go on and do great things. Any of these kids, I hope to see them in a couple of years. But it's just thank you for giving us this time tonight.
Thank you.
We also get a photo of the high school.
I had posed the question about eating healthy. You all understand the importance.
Yeah, the importance Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, next on our agenda is item 4.0 public commentary. And I'll go ahead and read our normal script. For those who wish to comment at this evening's board meeting, the maximum time to speak is 5 minutes. Please keep your comments fact-based and with the time permitted. Comments are not to be personally directed or abusive. Comments recognizing the work of staff and students are always welcome. However, critical remarks concerning specific school personnel or students are to be made through the complaint process available in policy 9130. School board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting, but you will receive a follow-up email from me. Please state your name and address before speaking.
Our only person signed up tonight is Kristen Jones. All right, Kristen Jones, 2514 Locust Lane. Hello, my name is Kristen Jones, and I'm an ELL teacher at Star and Charles. Over the past few weeks, the ELL department, the e-learning specialists, and the technology department have held 2 Parent Square events for our Spanish-speaking ELL families at Vail and Star. We chose Vail and Star due to the large number of ELL students at these buildings and the fact that a lot of parents walk their students to school. Because of this, we held the events from 7:45 to 8:30 in the morning. Our goal was to invite our ELL families into the buildings, help them sign up for Parent Square, make sure they understood how to use the app, and answer any questions that they might have. All of the information presented at these events were shared in English and Spanish. We are very pleased that we helped about 40 families and are looking forward to the next event for our ELL families. But I would like to take a moment to thank the following individuals for helping to make these events successful. E-learning specialist Joni Robinson, who created all content that was shared with our families and who also sat with families patiently, walking them through the process, sometimes painstakingly, of downloading and signing up for Parent Square. E-learning specialists Tim Arnold and Jeremy Hill, who supported all families with such patience and care. Instructional interpreters, Miss Rosie and Miss Pam, who contacted families on multiple occasions to invite them to the event, and then they both translated all information for our families so that they will have Spanish access to Parent Square. Vail ELL teacher Adriana Ramirez, who contacted families and invited them to our event, as well as helped translate during the Vail event. Alex Hazelbaker, who worked with countless families to ensure that they had access to Parent Square, as well as PowerSchool, or any other technology questions we might have had. Cassie Loudermilk for trusting me and my crazy ideas on how to enhance our ELL family engagement. Cassie's leadership has been very helpful this year. Bridget Hazelbaker and Elizabeth Markward for their continued support for our department and vision, as well as for taking time out of their busy schedules to attend the event. Nicole Vandervoort and Melissa Jordan for allowing the ELL department to hold events at your buildings and for your continued support. The ELL department has many other family engagement event ideas that will be held in the near future, and I would like to personally invite any of the school board members and administrative team to attend any of these events. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is items 5.01 through 5.06, the consent items.
I move that we approve all of the consent items.
Second.
I have a motion by member Stoltz, a second by member Stevens. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Next action item 6.01, donations. We have donations in the amount of $93,098.30.
Move that we accept the donations.
Second.
I have a motion by Stoltz, a second by Brand. Questions or comments?
Wow.
And I just said I looked through them and I did not look at the full total, I guess. But this is amazing. I'm very appreciative.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Next, item 6.02, the request for approval for alcohol service from the Richmond Symphony Orchestra as presented.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I just, on the donations,
Oh, yes.
I just wanted to point out that there was a significant donation for new band uniforms. I mean, just to add a note, I think that it was a Deborah Edelman.
Yes.
Yeah.
81,800.
So that's just I mean, they're all wonderful, but $82,000 for their band program is spectacular. So, sorry.
No, thank you for noting that. Yes.
Thanks, John.
Next is item 6.02, the request for approval for alcohol service from the Richmond Symphony Orchestra for March 29th and May 10th.
Madam President, I move to approve 6.02, the request for alcohol services with Richmond Symphony Orchestra as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion by member Stevens, a second by member Stoltz. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Action item 6.03, the test roof contract as presented.
I move that we accept the roof contract.
Second.
Motion by member Stoltz, a second by member Pickering. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Item 6.04, the 2025-2026 school calendar as presented.
I move to approve action item 6.04. 2025-2026 school calendar.
Second.
Have a motion by member Pickering, a second by member Stevens. Questions or comments? Dr. Wright, who was involved in creating the calendar?
Administrative team in conjunction with our education association. Other insights received came down and realized this is at this juncture while we are strategically planning is the best approach. 25-26 season.
In the past, we've done 2 years at a time. Is that right? Or we have some?
I think that's been the goal in the past.
Okay, but I understand why we're not at this time.
Correct.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
So generally, when you go through this, I feel like before I was on the board, there was a calendar committee, maybe.
There is to be.
You know, is it just, interested in knowing is when you all aren't really planning, maybe for a shakeup, is it like, hey, throw out your ideas? Do you, try to really stick to the same cadence? Do you get feedback on, hey, this would be great if we shot this, or is it really just kind of looking at the dates fall each year?
Typically, it's there's some different ways to approach it, but calendar committees have been assembled in the past and have reviewed. I know that some of the information found in this particular calendar came from some of the committee work from 2 years ago. And so there's been a lot of consideration taken in some of those conversations that had occurred then. Things were different then, and it was different objectives. But in this one single year, it's going to allow us to arrive at some conclusions with the planning process, and then get back to look at the point is running a longer scope of calendar.
Yeah, I appreciate the work. Obviously, the calendar, it's the dates fall really nicely for a calendar committee, so that makes everyone's life a little easier. And then I think we need to revisit the start times again. I know that did not go over so well, but I think with our continued kind of busing not still as it should be, I think we need to look at how we can structurally change to make things easier for everyone.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Next item is item 6.05, the ratification of the MOU between RCS and REA as presented.
I move to approve 6.05, the ratification of the MOU between RCS and REA is presented.
Second.
I have a motion by member Stevens, a second by member Stoltz. Questions or comments?
This is just a follow-up from the 11:15 meeting, right? Re-ratification, got it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Next, item 7.7, which is the policy review and update. The first one is policy 7.0, item 7.01, policy 2600, the school accountability. This is one that we discussed in a work session and had discussed the date that needed adjusted from May to September to allow more time for the school committees to submit their recommended plans. This is at a second reading and approval.
I move to approve 7.01, policy 2600, school accountability on second reading as presented.
I'll second that.
Have a motion by member Stevens, a second by member Stoltz. Questions or comments?
It was just moving that approval.
Yeah. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Next is the first reading of policy 168.1. And this one is noting that, and I believe we discussed this one in a work session too, so I'm not sure why it's a first reading, but it's digitizing the initial minutes and now beginning in January, they'll be stored electronically. It's the minutes of our board meetings.
I move that we move policy 0168.1, open meeting, to second reading.
A second.
Motion by member Stoltz, a second by member Pickering. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by
Wait,
saying
I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
So it says that they're available if they're electronic. Should they be accessible at all times? I mean, it says that minutes should be made available for inspection at the superintendent's office, shall be available for purchase at a fee estimated by the business office to cover costs of printing and copying, which I guess we could print them for people, but if they're online, should the public have access to them at all times?
Don't take it in.
Well, to me,
It's
it
on the
says
board
this.
docs. It's on the next meeting, right? The minutes from the previous meeting. Is that the same?
Yes,
Same thing?
but there's
Yeah.
also minutes for every meeting we have.
But this doesn't say that they'll be online, it just says it'll be digital.
Okay,
So to me, that meant.
but
they
if they're
are-
if they're
but they
digital,
are some
should
of-
they be online?
Okay,
I
and
guess
that's
my
the question. I mean, I guess that would be for Stacy to say how complicated it is to store all these past and maybe, yeah.
So we're gonna store those in DocuScan and, or I'm sorry, DocuWare. And all right, DocuWare. Thank you, Stacy Corwin helps us out with that. She's our liaison. So that is where we're keeping all of our personnel files, so they can't be available to just anybody to go in there and look. So if they would like something, they can request and then we can bring it out for them.
So the minutes will be just stored digitally beginning of January, but they're not gonna be.
I believe anything that's taken from this meeting, I would think it's like what she usually keeps in the 2-inch binder,
official
3-inch
minutes,
binders.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like Board Member Pickering said, I think that they're all available. You just have to find out which date, and that's what we do. I very seldom go down to Miss Meyer and ask her. Usually, I just start scouring the board docs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mox.
But
We have a motion and a second on the table. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Next item, 7.03, the board staff communications. This is a first reading. Stacy, can you come back up for me? Is this one we've looked at a work session?
It is.
Okay, I thought.
it is, and one thing that one of the board members said, they wanted official communication because they said, what if you get invited
Right.
to your friend's graduation party? That's not official communication. That's just an invitation.
Okay, good.
So that's what this clarifies.
Okay, great.
I believe.
Okay.
Do you want me to stay up here just in case?
Would
there's-
you?
Just,
Anything for you.
yeah, I think just historically speaking, with regard to this particular policy, I know that Member Weber was concerned with one of the few members on that particular unit were concerned with whether or not this needed to be in this particular policy, and or it's elementary understood with family and a different policy.
Are you talking about the social interaction portion?
Yes, that's more. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So the idea just being we should just know that. It doesn't need to be spelled out. Did we remove it from other policies yet? Just wondering for consistency's sake.
So this deals with the board discussing school board stuff. So I'm not sure there would be.
I don't think there was any other policy.
There wouldn't be any other policy that would have
I
that.
think the
Okay,
question
I thought that's
was
what you were saying.
Whether
would
this should
be-
go somewhere else.
Yeah, with this transition into maybe board ethics.
Short ethics,
Yeah.
yes, I
Be
remember
how
that.
it's like staff communications. Mhm.
So as you guys are working through that policy, have you taken that into consideration or?
First meeting tomorrow.
First meeting's tomorrow.
Oh,
9 o'clock.
just
Mhm.
if.
Yes,
if
I
we
guess
are
if you
wanting
could note
to
that
have
down.
it,
Okay.
just not wanting it to get lost if we are looking to have it. I'm not saying we are. Yes, mouse.
So I need a motion. If we want to move forward with this one into a second reading.
I moved to approve.
I second.
7.03.
Second reading. Who was the second? I didn't hear. Okay. I had a motion by Member Pickering, second by Member Wadiaga. Any questions or comments further? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. 7.04, which is the mentor program for professional staff.
So we currently have a program for that. The board has never seen that, so I just thought it would be a great idea if we could look at it every few years, just to make sure that we're staying on our toes and make sure we're being good stewards of our new employees that are the certificated employees.
Thank you. Need a motion?
I move to approve 7.04 policy 3125, the mentor program for professional staff. Move it to second reading.
I'll second.
I think we have it as a second reading and approval. Is that correct? Or is
It
it?
says
just
first
second?
reading.
Oh, okay. Mine. Okay, great. Okay, so I have a motion by Member Stevens. Did someone say a second? Thank you. A second by Stoltz. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Next policy is 3211, which is item 7.05, required reports and protection of whistleblowers. First reading.
I like this. One of the board members, I don't remember which one, pointed out that let's definitely define who it is and the districts, it's the district's employees. It's not the board's employees. I think that might have been board member Weber that pointed that out. It's really the district's employees.
I move that we approve or move policy 3211 to second reading.
Second.
Motion by member Stoltz, second by member Stevens. Questions or comments?
I have a couple comments. I know we kind of briefly talked about it. I think really sort of vetting out the flow of how an employee or a building leader, how should it flow, right? I think, reading through like, of course, it's go to your direct supervisor. But I do think, which I'm sure you see a lot, and chief HR isn't in this, and I think it should be. Just as who do I go to? And maybe that's not necessarily in the policy, but it should be. I don't know if it's in the employee handbook. Right, you can go to you can go to your direct manager, you can go to the superintendent, just to give more options. And then I think you said we don't necessarily use a third party, but I think it would be good to look at that, and maybe that could be through EAP. Maybe they have some to do a true, reporting out of the district, if for whistleblower protection.
Be something like a hotline that they could call. Typically, an EAP would be able to set that up. But they contact a hotline to where they can remain. It's like calling Crime Stoppers basically for a crime, but you can remain anonymous, and it at least gets the ball rolling on a potential issue that but protects that person and their identity potentially.
We kind of have that a little bit with the certificated staff. They can go through their union representatives, but we don't for the other groups.
Yeah, I think third party is probably your safest bet.
Because obviously they would that third party would then work to you all. But just I think when you use that word whistleblower, right, it's that next level up, and someone might really need to feel like they need to be protected, whatever that looks like. So that's just my comment adding that in. Like I said, don't necessarily know if that needs to be vetted out through the policy or.
I would imagine that would come with a cost.
Oh yeah, it would.
Yeah.
But I would like HR included in the policy too. That's great.
We're currently working on the staff handbooks, so I'll check and see.
Okay, it could be.
One other comment or thought, in paragraph 2, it says, an employee who is aware of words or acts of a board member or employee that may violate federal or Indiana law, board policy, or administrative guidelines shall bring the words or actions to the attention of the employee's immediate supervisor. So in a situation where it's a board member, as board members, we don't have an immediate supervisor. Nothing is addressed in this policy to deal with that.
And what I said, yeah.
So it does state, if the superintendent has that sort of situation, the report shall be made to the board president, but nothing addresses that. So I don't know if we need to state that would be taken to the board then, or if we want to go with a different route.
We can take this to the meeting that we have tomorrow. I can add it to that and we can flesh it out tomorrow.
Yeah, there's just not something that's stated. Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to move this on to second reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Next, two policies are ones 5136 and 144.2 that I'm recommending we table both, because both of these we have kind of discussed in work session once, and then side work, and now tomorrow is our main our policy meeting, and these are kind of complex ones. Unless anyone opposes, my suggestion would be that we table these.
No objections.
Okay.
I guess I would like to know, I mean, all of us except Mr. Maloria have had a chance to talk about like the personal communication devices. So unless he's gonna be at that meeting, I guess I would like to solicit his thoughts. As well as maybe just garner the rest as far as like where are others. So if you don't mind, I would like to just have a dialogue on that, just to see where people are.
So we'll look
Since
at
we have a new board
policy
member.
Absolutely.
5136 first, the personal communication devices.
Yeah, I feel like when we left off, we were pretty much all aligned. Just hatching out some verbiage. You know, I just, if my memory serves me right, you know, the snitch clause, and maybe it needs to be geared towards staff, right? If they see something, I feel like the concern was encouraging or asking students to report. If
Well,
they
it currently says a person,
right.
so.
But then I think it follows up with, you know, is that person gonna feel like they're in trouble if they don't? So maybe the onus should really be on adults. And also not discouraging students from doing it. I don't know what that wording is. I think that's what we can kind of hash out. And then the other thing was
So is that something you, I mean, not to put you on the spot, but.
I would like to take a little bit more time to review
Okay,
that part so
yeah.
I can get my thoughts regarding this personal communication device. That would be my.
You'll hear more about it in the morning.
I'll hear more about it in the morning at 9 o'clock.
There you go.
And I think the second part was we were away for a day for K through 8, and 9 through 12 was away during class time as required by law. And the principal and superintendent were gone. I think there was some, is that right? That we decided there was some collaboration with how there's some freedom there to decide whether it's away for the day or whether it's.
I mean, on the spot, I would say K through 8. I totally agree with. Just from reading this, I totally understand. 9 through 12, you've got a lot of dimensions, i.e., kids in sports, arts, music. There's got to be some type of communication regarding who's picking up somebody and or communicating with your friends and or parents. That's where I am falling in line with. Just briefly.
That sounds like kind of where we all, but we all also agree that it's kind of between the principal and the superintendent. So if they agree together that it's away for the day, then that would be, so it's kind of.
I think too, if your principal has the feel of the building, your superintendent has the feel of the procedures. I think collaborating together and coming up with a policy together as a team shows unity, shows competence, and knowing what we wanted to do with our school district from 9 to 12. So I think showing that, and I guess having that, Mr. Wright, having that talk with Ray would be ideal in that situation, correct?
Absolutely. That's, I think, one of the things that the board references that allowing data to inform us. As is the case, we'll continue to do just that with collaboration.
What is Ray's recommendation? Do we know?
I think she,
I've not heard in our discussion.
I would say
discuss that specifically.
she had said to just go with the policy they had last year, which is similar. It's just cracking down a little more on the in class. So,
I think we have to be real careful when we say collaborate because Ray's a subordinate. And so, I mean, I think the board, my thought was the building leader made the decision. Because administration has said they want the policy away for the day. And the board is like, I think we'd like some flexibility. And so if Dr. Wright still is firm in their existing recommendation and the board and the building principals are like, we like flex. I mean, I think you have to be very careful how that's written. Because
if you leave that verbiage in there, then it sets it up for administrative guideline that bypasses any conversation with that.
So,
defeats the purpose.
so we can either, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, you guys can talk tomorrow,
But now you have to be just curious to hear what.
yeah.
and if you can simplify it, I mean, I think Kristen has the example. I mean, this policy is rocked with problems. I think it's not even worth I would start from scratch, would be my.
I think we had that sample policy, which was really good. And I remember you being Mr. Orr about trying to teach kids how to be, responsible. And, if they're not abiding by having their phone, then the whole school might go to away from the day. So when you're talking about collaboration with the principal and superintendent, that's where my mind is going. If they've got a little leeway, unless they can't handle it, right? And then Dr. Wright, superintendent, would come in and be like, okay, if there's X amount of referrals, right? So some type of threshold, but we can definitely hash that out a little more of what that looks like, what satisfies.
Any other comments on the personal communication devices?
And we'll be discussing this tomorrow at 9 o'clock, correct?
Yes.
Just making sure. Try it.
And who plans to be at that meeting? Just, okay, oh, great. So most of us, I'll be there.
Just look at you guys.
Okay, good.
Showing up. Policy meetings.
So this policy doesn't need an action because it's just gonna stay as a second reading. I'm doing that right. Okay. Policy 144.2, the board member ethics. Do we want to have a brief discussion on that as well?
I don't really, only because I think the only feedback is how we flush that out and maybe split it out. So I don't know what,
How it's gonna
I
be
mean, if anyone
organized.
else wants to,
Right.
I think it goes down the rabbit hole. So
Yes.
if you guys feel like you want to.
So you're thinking like maybe make it into different policies?
Potentially, like I feel like there's ethics referenced and then there's direction and I think President Brett and I are talking, there's several things that are referenced elsewhere. So it's,
Duplicitous.
it's duplicitous and then some of the things I just don't think point to. But to make sure if we want to have something like that, like what it looks like, or maybe we just rewrite it. I do know Johnny got us, or Miss Elsmeyer got us the board member. What's that called? I haven't. Board member board police statement, right? That just sort of encompasses that a little. So
We take an oath, which I think supersedes this document. I mean, I think we don't have administrative ethics, we don't have teacher ethics. I mean, I think we actually take an oath. I think it's policy that's not really see a benefit.
yeah, I do. I mean, as we've talked about this over and over, and I just said I don't need to talk about this, but the policy itself, I'm not necessarily in favor of. So it's like, that's where I kind of come from, to just rewrite like our board beliefs and include what we agree upon in that.
So what you're suggesting is not a policy though, it's just.
Potentially, yeah. Yes, like I said, but I know we talked about like really sort of seeing where those things are in other policies. Like as I read through it, I'm like, oh, I know it's somewhere, I've seen it before, and really like identify what is in another policy because it just seems to be restated here. But yes,
I guess I feel like we should have a policy. I hear what you're saying, John, about others, teachers or admin, but they all have to answer to someone where
We take an oath.
But so do city officials, and they all have. I just Googled because I'm like, do elected officials have? And everything says they do.
We recently lost a board member, and I think this can be used as a tool against board members. And so, I think I'm comfortable with my personal behavior and beliefs and my oath, and I really don't need a policy for someone to yell at me for something I may or may not do that I think is appropriate for the corporation. So
My personal opinion, as you guys are hashing this out, is I would like to keep a policy for board member ethics. I feel like it's good to be reminded of it, and I feel like we operate under policies, and I feel like in eliminating it, it's like we're saying that we're above it. Again, I understand that we're under oath,
But when you read through it and read what it says, I mean, that's, I
well,
mean,
we can decide what it says.
I mean, if you want to say, board members will act in a, I mean, but, the way it lays out, representing at all times the entire school community. All right. Why is that in there? I mean, isn't that, givens,
A
I
given.
guess?
So maybe we take out the stuff that we feel like is a given, just like the part C that we took out with social interactions. We felt like those were givens. So,
And that we're not making a decision on this tonight, moving it or anything else. And since we have the policy meeting in the morning, it's something we can discuss then. I mean, there's no haste to get this approved or do anything with it, right now. However, it does give us time that if there are objections to having the policy or recommendations that we do keep the policy, it allows us to look through, highlight everything else, present it, and then move forward with it there. It doesn't have to be done. It's obviously not going to be done tonight. It won't be done before January, and it gives us more time to filter through with it and make informed decisions based upon what we feel is necessity. That's my opinion.
Any other comments on it? If not, we need to make a motion on this. It's going to be tabled. We discuss tomorrow during the policy meeting. Next is item 7.08, policy 8510, the wellness policy. The only change to this is the number change of the policy.
I move to approve 7.8, policy 510, the wellness policy on physical activity and nutrition. Actually move it to second reading.
I'll second.
Motion by member Stevens, a second by member Stoltz. Questions or comments?
Do we coordinated school health and wellness?
We have a wellness committee that's made up of teachers and administrators and parents. We use staff parents so that they kind of know what's going on, but yes.
Okay. Mrs. Barton, can you repeat who made that motion, please?
Sure.
It
was Stevens and Stoltz.
Thank you.
The only things I had, I didn't, so does the policy end where the administrative regulations begin? Or is that part of the policy? Because there's like a couple of pages after that.
Explain a little bit. Policy.
This is Cal, Assistant Superintendent of Operations. Come on up.
Yeah, so this policy is approved by the USDA and the IDOE for the child nutrition requirements. So it is a part of the policy. I know that it looks a little funny, but they have some additional rules as to what you have to have in your wellness policy, and this passed with flying colors during the past previous audits, so we don't expect that to change. In fact, other schools are actually using our past policy, so we wanted to just re-implement that with no changes.
And then a couple other things. It still references 5710 on the bottom of every page. And then lastly, where we reference the approved nutrition standards from Institute of Medicine 2010. I mean, would that not be just a live link rather than having those spelled out in the policy? I mean, because those standards, I'm guessing, have changed in almost 20 years. I don't know.
This policy has been updated since then. We did not make it the the IDOE sent this out as a recommended policy. So I'm sure that we could link it. But I would have to research if it isn't the same reference.
I mean, I guess I would make sure that what we list is current. And then, I guess if I was writing policy, I'd have it live, so it automatically changed personally.
It was current as of last year, so I would just need to check from last year to this year if it changed.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second to move this to a second reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Next on our agenda are highlights and discussions. 8.01, other discussion. Does any board member have any items to note or discussion items to discuss?
I do. So just over the past few days, I've had several conversations with people in the community revolving around shop class and home economics. So just kind of wanted to chit chat about that a little bit. I know prior to when you arrived on the board, we've talked collectively several times about maybe re-implementing some of those curriculums. We most recently took a tour of Dennis, and we were even looking at some of the space like, oh, maybe this could be, where we'd have a shop class or where we'd have home ec class. So I guess my question is simply, where are we as a board on that? Because this is something, I remember at 3 different board retreats having the conversations where it seemed like the board was definitely wanting to do this and behind it. One was at your house, one was at Brad's house, one was at my house. Several times over the last 5 years, this has come up and we've been excited about it and wanted to do it, but I don't know where we currently are as a board as well as where we are. I'd love to hear from Dr. Wright, or I don't know if that's the same question. If we're looking at implementing that at some point in the near future. Where are we?
It's probably coming up because of the new graduation type stuff that's coming
Right.
up and the focus on work-based learning and those kind of things. So we are part of, getting the kids interested in those kind of things as part of that. And so we are part of a grant through the East Social Educational Service Center out of Newcastle. We have for a grant through them for the next 2 school years. His name's Tom Cooper. He's a career coach who is on campus every day and works with our kids in grades 5 through 12. So he's at TESS, he's at all of our buildings, all the secondary type buildings, to talk to kids about career exploration and career planning and thoughts of your future and some of those kinds of things. That service center has also developed it's called RIASEC, and they're each an acronym for different career paths that kids can take, and so they're kind of promoting that. They're offering field trip opportunities for kids in the middle grades to go up there and sort of do hands-on kinds of things. Sheila Hobbs and I went up there and toured it. It does things like public speaking. There's one room where kids basically do career inventories, figure out what you might be interested in. So those kinds of things are starting to pop up at the younger grades. Of course, we have the Career Center for older kids, but I think getting kids at younger ages interested in figuring what they might want to do. So that would be part of those conversations. Looking at how that will all shake out. One thing that's going to happen at the middle schools is that part of the new graduation pathways, there is a required computer science course that's new for everyone that can be offered. There's a few courses that can be offered at the middle school level. And so a lot of schools, or most schools across the state, are taking that opportunity to teach that in the 8th grade. So we have to, the kids graduate, add that. And then as this career stuff and the career coach, he's required to do, like I said, career exploration things. And he also has to do career meetings with every student, like small group career type meetings with kids. That's part of his role. So he'll be having those kinds. So as those discussions kind of take place and we see where our kids are, it's something to look into and see if we want to add something like that based on where we've added a lot of STEM kinds of things. I know that was kind of a direction, so we've increased Project Lead the Way at the elementary levels, and at the middle school level, increase what we've offered there. So some of these work-based kinds of things, it might behoove us to look into that and go down that path as well. It just kind of depends on where our kids are at once we navigate this new computer science course that's coming.
So is anything in motion as far as, because the conversations that I'm hearing are shop class, these kids should know how to, do some stuff once they own a home. Hopefully they'll own a home. Home ec as far as like they should be able to cook, we should be teaching them how to cook. And this is all like at the middle school level is again, the conversations that, basically what we learned when we were at Richmond, in middle school. So are we moving towards that at all at this point, or is that
right now? I would say that we have not had those conversations.
Okay.
I mean, I have not had those conversations with Cooper and us. We have not. It's been focused around some of the new graduation things and the new computer science class coming in. It's not out of the realm of possibility because, as you know, we have those things currently at the high school. And so if we can, what happens is if we can get kids taking that type of course or that type of entry level class to help them decide a pathway when they get to high school sooner. I may not like shop class, but I don't want to discover that when I'm a sophomore. It's better if I discover that in 7th grade, to your point. So once that stuff starts to trickle down, this work-based learning, and now if I can get those credits earlier and then get out into the workforce earlier, which seems to be where the new graduation requirements are going, is to kind of get kids out and get kids doing hands-on kinds of things. So,
and it's not just career path, it's more just life, like as a person who eats, I need to learn how to cook. And as a person who has a home, I need to learn how to fix things in my home.
It's funny you say that because I was literally in my storage unit yesterday and I pulled out this little Bugs Bunny that I made in shop
that you
class.
made in shop
Mr.
class.
Price at Test.
Yes.
He was probably 90 when I was there.
I think he was 9, and I'm older than you. And he was 90 when I was there.
And I stamped my name in it, and my 11 and 8-year-old were like, I was like, I made that. I think in 6th grade, and my 11-year-old in 6th grade, and he was like, what, how do you do that? I'm like, with the jigsaw and I'm handy. So they were astounded, and then they said we also had home ec where we had a kitchen at Test and we got to cook and then we got to sew, and they were like,
Mrs. Ali.
Yep. And my 11-year-old loves to crochet. I tried to do a straight blanket. I can't. He's doing bags and hats but they were just like, you've got to do that in middle school, and I was like, yeah, and everyone loved it. When you made that Snicker salad for the first time, but I know we were at Dennis last year. We talked about this Skipper a little bit about, I definitely think there's because I see it too as life skills of, I still know how to do things because I sanded and nailed and glued.
And it was kind of
in middle
intro
school.
then, and you're like, I can do this. It's a confidence builder.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I learned the difference between an oven and a broiler when I saw flames coming out of it.
And teachers
like schools water system.
It seems like the strategic plan's happening, and then we will figure out realignment, and that seems like the perfect time that if we realign and that happens, and we will reconfigure probably the entire middle school building perhaps, and at that time would be the perfect time to integrate in and put in ovens or whatever we need to do to.
It might have not go that far, but just how do we introduce them to cutting and chopping and
And by that point, we also will have a better understanding, or a clearer understanding as to the direction, as to where our profession and a few new changes that sadly on the horizon. But historically speaking, and I'm curious to know, Stevens, I'm curious to know because historically speaking, the family and consumer science courses, home economics, industrial arts, the courses that we all recall growing up with, they were phased out, historically speaking, as a result of budgetary challenges and also with state standards. There was a shift in curricular focus. And so, Member Stevens, I'm not sure if, I'm trying to think, and I know that you've had some history on the board. Can you recall some of the decisions back then as to the phasing out of or things? Was it more budgetary or because I
One
think
day
this
we
is-
got a message from a pigeon. And
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm posing the question.
and then Moses came down from the mountain.
Yeah. But I think it's great that
He dropped
Yeah,
that
long
third,
ago.
dropped that third tablet, and so now we only have 10. No, as a result of state standards, when they were changed state requirements when it came to things such as home economics, and all of those things, and shock, the requirements changed because there was that point, and even up until the early 1980s, late 1980s, when it was still somewhat of a requirement. But then some of the things that were being taught were being phased out. I mean, sewing. I wish I knew how to sew. Okay, so teach me. But a lot, when things get phased out because of modern technology and everything else, the needs, and we see life changes in our lives even now. You're younger than me, but I mean, how many people actually go to a library and check out a book instead of looking at something online? So library cards are no longer required, for students in school because you can do it right here. And I remember there was a time, even since I've been on the board, it was still incumbent upon students to get library cards so they can go and check out books and everything else for studies and everything. So that's a long-winded question. I beg your pardon.
Well, it's kind of like what he's alluded to, sort of like as the state has required
Yeah.
more courses, like I say, that computer science course has to be, that takes away from some of the elective kinds of things, or some of those non-core type courses that you can offer to students because there's only so many hours in your day. So that's what happens is as the state puts those demands on some of those basic skills kinds of courses, those common sense kinds of things get
Well, I
squeezed
guess
out because you run out of
The
time.
community members I'm running into want
Yeah.
the common sense to come back.
Yeah, amen to that.
I guess my question to this is, we're talking about life skills when our students are going out and they're going out to the workforce and we're preparing them to go on the workforce. The opportunities. I just think about my brother who took shop class in 8th grade and took shop class all the way through high school, and now he works for Allison Transmissions, one of the biggest places, and he's a mid-level manager. Went to Purdue. I mean, those types of opportunities are there. Whether they go to college or not, we got to provide those opportunities. I was trying to figure out the feedback, what we're getting from the business communities that are actually, have our employees, that have our students as employees, what they're seeing. Is there do we need more certain qualities, and are we providing those at school?
I think they would agree that, like others, and I know we have business owners here on the dais. I think they would agree that there's always room for improvement.
Right.
I know that at the same time, and I know that Mr. Pritchard, and others, and even for some time, there's been a lot of conversation at the chambers meetings and offices regarding the need for more soft skills and social education and improvement upon, so as to see the effects in production and performance. We've also heard from students. We met with students last year in the spring. Met with upperclassmen from around the county. We brought all 11, 12 graders from our 5 surrounding corporations and met with students to hear their take as to the experience they've had from the other side of the fence and working with our local businesses around the county. And their perspective is unique. But yes, there's definitely a need, and I think it's great the board is having such conversation, and that it's a local board as we move forward. We can reintroduce. I think that's, as we understand and know, reading the tea leaves, I think more local controls is what I believe is going to be on the horizon.
For the new one, so when we did the last reconfiguration with the 7, 8, 5, 6 buildings, I mean, that's when discussions were happening, and the board, I think, wanted to pursue traditional shop classes, home ec at Dennis. Dennis had more square footage, I think, more space available, and that presented possible. And I think through transitions and administration and it's, as Mr. Pritchard, it adds shop. Not only is it costly, but it also, if you're going to take a shop class, a traditional shop class, which you need, traditional shop class isn't really a 6-week module. It needs to be a semester.
At least.
Yeah, at least. And so looking at it, it just kind of fell by the wayside.
So we have an opportunity to talk about it, get this
Yeah.
back in.
So whether, where the board falls in the future, I'm not sure. I obviously, we thought it was a good idea. Still think it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea.
But as the difficulties to have that, maybe a model that would work would be, we offer classes at the high school, and like you take a high school kid takes a college course, an 8th grade kid takes a high school course and comes to the high school and takes shop, or, maybe we can be more creative that way, rather than have the traditional, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know, but the board had intended we had high hopes, and I think we've not followed
Well, that
through
was one of the driving
like we wanted to.
factors, for me at least, kind of like, if we reconfigure and we've got 7-8 in one building, then we have this shared space that all of the, all of the 7th graders could do.
One shop, one home ec,
Yeah,
one,
So
graphic arts.
you wouldn't have 2 home ec teachers, you just have the one in that building. But again, it hasn't come to fruition, so.
This would be a longer discussion, really, than just what time allows tonight, because what I would envision, because going back to you, John, you, Nicole, those of us who were with the board who were in that same sentiment, that would be, my thought is to identify business leaders in this community, small businesses, large businesses, and just have a long roundtable, a large roundtable discussion for a while. Let them identify what they see as needs to fill their employment vacancies that are going to occur in 7 or 8 years. So we can now start to identify those 5th and 6th and 7th graders, get them basically involved with some type of in-person visits, mentoring to an extent, to see if this is what they like. Even before we would have to create classes and classroom spaces, we can identify from the existing businesses what it is, or what are going to be the identifiable qualifications that a person is going to need. That way, that 5th, 6th, or 7th grader can now start to earmark their trajectory in school for graduation to become employable the moment that we hand them a diploma to fill those vacancies in those businesses. Sustains the businesses locally, but it also gives those students primary focus, because we know that everybody is not geared for college or education after high school. But if we keep them here, we can also keep them employable if we start now in the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that.
I agree with that too. And just finding your passion, right? I worked my way through corporate America, and that's what I'm doing. But then I'm now looking back, like, what am I passionate about? Those other things that I could do to offset, so I'm not thinking about work all the time. And it might encourage people to go to college if they find something they enjoy doing. Yes, it could be an employable skill, but also, it might encourage someone to find something that they can do in college versus, I don't know what I want to do, I'm not going to go.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Any other items under discussion? Okay, preview of the upcoming meeting. We will have a special policy review meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. in this boardroom that is open to the public. The next school board work session and business meeting will be Wednesday, December the 11th, with the work session at 5:30 and the business meeting at 6:30. Dr. Wright, the bell ringer, please.
President Button, trustees, and I ask Mrs. Bridget Hazelbaker, our director of student services and communication, will join us for this evening's bell ringer. Thank you, Mrs. Hazelbaker.
At last night in Indianapolis, our own middle school principal, Crystal Cooper, was named the Indiana Association School Principal for District 6.
Yeah.
So we want to congratulate her.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Meeting adjourned.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
The photo really quickly, so if I can take it to my Senate,